Hello guys, once again welcome to my channel. So in continuation to learning Docker, uh, today I am come up with another very interesting topic which is called data volume and bind mounting in container, right? So a very important information guys, so like if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, so I would request you to please subscribe my channel so that in future if I create any video, and then you will get the notification. For that you need to press the bell icon also. So this is my channel Pratik Sethi, so please subscribe it. And till now like we have created some very good videos, so like some of them are like introduction to Docker, then install the installation on Docker on machine. Then we have some very important Docker container commands. These I have divided into two parts so that I have explained I try to explain each and everything about Docker container commands. So if you go through to these lectures, so I'm sure that you will have a very good knowledge about Docker. And then like in the last video we have covered like how to create a Docker image, and then how to create a Docker image from Docker file. So we understand what is Docker file, then we have created our own Docker file and then build it to create a Docker image, and from that Docker image we have run our first container. So I hope you are learning and you find it very useful. So till now like if you have not watched previous tutorials, so first of all I would like to say you that please refer my previous videos or complete all these lectures, then come to this lecture, because that then it will be very helpful. Otherwise there are some topics and some terms which might not be very clear to you, so it will be great if you go through these lecture. It will not take, it hardly take around 1.5 hours, but that 1.5 hours is really worth. You will definitely gain something, and you will like be comfortable in Docker. So and you will feel like okay, now you have a very good understanding of Docker, and whenever like you face anything related to Docker in your or containerization in your project, maybe in current or maybe in a future project, so you will have a very good idea. So for that like please subscribe my channel. Okay, so then let's get started with today's topic. So today we're gonna cover like a topic called data volume. And what are data volume in containerization, guys? This is very important topic. And then what is bind mounting? These are the terms like which DevOps people should know, like, or even like when we are working on a containerized application, when we work on a microservices, right? Today is the world of microservices, right? Where we have independent services talk to each other, right? So in that way like containerization is a very important, comes very handy, right? In this particular scenario we should know like what is data volume in containerization, what is bind mounting in containerization, right? So no worries to note this. I will provide each and everything in description, so you can copy that from description. And so the requirement, as I already mentioned before, that requirement is that you should know, you should have a clear understanding of Docker container commands, Docker images concept that we have discussed in our previous video. So I would suggest to go and watch my previous videos. Okay, so this is, I will share the link of this playlist in the description tab, so you can search Docker DevOps containerization from my channel Pratik Sethi, so you will get the playlist. I will also share the link of the playlist. Okay, fine. So let's get started. So What is volume in containerization? So we have seen like in container, like when we run the container, uh, so there, for example, like in case of some DB application containers, so for this like demo purpose we are considering PostgreSQL, which is open source RDBMS, right? So you can find this image on hub.docker.com. You just search Postgres and you will get this of this Docker official image. Like we already discussed what are official images, what are public images, right? So there is a challenge inside the container, basically about the data persistence, right? So we have started one container from this image which holds our database, right? And sometimes data is very important than this application, right? We don't want, even though container which is a running instance of this image may stop running, or we have migrated to some different container, but the data we don't want to lose, right? So in that particular case, data volume comes very handy. So data volume is basically a configuration option that create a special location outside container. So in this particular case, even though my container gets stopped or my container has changed, I have stopped that container and run a new container, the volume, the data is persist, and that particular data will be existing inside my host machine. So you will get, I will explain you each and everything, like how to create data volume and how to map the data to data volume in my host machine, right? And the next one is bind mounting in containerization. So bind mounting is like, suppose I want to map some file or directory on my host machine to file and directory inside my container. So this is very handy in case of like when we are doing some development work. So we are changing some code and we are changing some files, and we also want to change, see the impact of all those file changes in my container. So by default, whatever changes I am making in particular directory or particular file on my host machine, the container will have those changes in that particular directory which is mounted to a particular directory on my host. So how to create that bind mounting, we're gonna see. Okay, so first let's take out data volume in containerization. For that we'll be considering PostgreSQL, right? This one. So this one has it's a database. So let's open this latest tag and let me open its Docker file, which exists under the GitHub, right? So it must have the volume, right? Volume Stenja. Okay, so this says that this is the default location of storing the data inside the container, right? So this is what volume Stenja says in Docker file, right? So let's get, like, first of all we need to know how to pull the PostgreSQL image. So for that we can copy this command, docker pull postgres. Just copy this and paste it here. So I might have this image on my system, so it will check if there are any changes. So it says that I don't have any latest changes on repository, so all the changes that exist on my local cache is latest, that what exists matches with what exists in the uh, repository there, right? hub.docker.com. So no changes, nothing difference there, no difference there. So it just basically ignore it, and it says this message that image is up to date for Postgres, right? So we have done this process. So I have written some of the command, I will share in the description. So we'll go one by one, right? So next is, like, we have this image, guys, so we'll inspect this. Let me make the screen bigger so that you have, So sorry. Okay, so I hope this is visible. So what I'm doing, like I'm writing command like docker image inspect postgre, right? So I want to inspect this image which I have just downloaded. So if I press enter, so I get all the information. So we have seen in a docker file we have a volume tag there, right, which says that tells about some location inside the container like where it will keep the data, this one, right? And let's see where is there inside the build image. So in the inside the build image, so we don't carry the docker file inside the build image, so we have this configuration. So see, it has a volume, this is same as varly PostgreSQL data, right? Moving to next command, so we'll run this image, and we'll create a running instance of this image, which is a container. So what we are doing here is like we are saying docker container run -d is for like running this container inside the background in detach mode. Then name of this container will be post1, and we need to pass like some environment variable. So I'm passing some password, admin password, and this one is the name of the image. Okay guys, so just I'm copying this and running inside this shell. So it says that container, let's check whether my container is running or not by command docker container ps. So say it is running, the image is this, and the name of the container is post1. Okay, so let's inspect the image, let's inspect the container here. So in this command I'm inspecting the running container, which is post1, right? So see, like I just want to see which volume it contains. See, this one, it should be under the mount section. So it says that it has created, this is the name of, see, first check the name of this. See, this is Postgres and status is running, right? And it has created this volume, right? So the name of it just creates some random volume name. So I don't know like how it created this some random string there. So this is the volume, and this says like source is this, right? And destination is this, right? So what it means is the directory inside the container, like var lib PostgreSQL data, which is the default directory, which is is inside mentioned inside the docker file, and then comes after a build process, it comes under the configuration file that we have already seen through docker in docker image inspect, right? So this is the directory inside the container, which is mapped to this particular location inside my host data. So if I was running some Linux distribution on my system, then I can visit to this particular location. But since we already know that on Windows and Linux, Docker runs as a small VM in background, so we directly cannot go to this particular location. But we'll see like from through bind mount like how we can go to that particular location. But for now you can understand that this particular location, all the data, like which is a default location for PostgreSQL to keep its metadata and the related database data files, it will be actually stored inside this particular location on my host machine, right? And it's mapped to this location. So what is the advantage of it, like even though my container gets stopped or my container gets killed, that I will not be losing any bit of data. So my data will be intact at this particular location. So once if I create a Docker container with this volume, then I will regain the database, right? So this way data still remain persist on my host machine even though my container get changed, right guys? So next command we'll see like inspecting the volume. Let's see, let's run this command docker. In our case its name of the container is post1, so we have already seen it. Let me copy the name of the image, name of the volume, sorry, d8. Okay, so just run this command docker inspect see, it says that again the same volume is mapped to this particular location, right? And currently container is running, right? So suppose I stop this container, right? Docker container, how to stop the running container? We can either say docker container stop and name of the container, or docker container remove -f post1, right? So no container is running. But if I do docker inspect image and docker volume ls, the volume will still remain there. It means that even though my container gets stopped, I will not lose the particular volume that is exists inside my host machine. So my data will remain persist. So that is all about data volume. So let's go to check about what is data. Next topic is bind mounting in containerization. So for that we need to check, like in my previous video we have created our own image, so we'll be using that, right? So if I go ls-al, right, we have created these two files. One is a docker file. So let me just give a brief about what we did in the last video. Like we created this docker file and we are just copying this script to a particular location inside the docker, and we are calling this script once this container gets started, right? This is what we are doing. And we have inside the script we have just printing the output of the top command. So what is data bind mounting in containerization? So it's a process of mapping host directory or file into container, host and file. So it's just like we are pointing the same location from two different pointers, right? So that is what data bind mounting is. What advantage it gives us, like whatever changes we made in our host file in particular location, those changes will be reflected inside the container, right? So for that data bind mounting we don't need to pass in Docker file. So we need to pass this while running the container, because it's not depend upon the volume. So we need to pass, we need to set the bind mounting while running the container. So how we do that, we'll see. uh, so we already have this image, so let me show you. Docker images ls-a, it will show all the images. So currently let me type this command. Okay, see, I have we have just created, we have previously in previous video we have created this image, right? This is the repository and this is the tag. And here what I have done in the last command is I am running the container with the name my container in detach mode, and this is the option like -v, which basically tells to mount the particular directory from my host to particular directory or file inside the container. So what I am doing is this is like a shortcut for giving the current working directory. So what I'm saying, like, map my current working directory, which is like way of sending assigning the current working directory in shell script. So what I'm doing here, like, we are just mapping the current working directory $pwd and map to this particular location. Like, I can, this is not like mandated user my container, you can give any path like /user /container /user container 4 container 3 container 2, anything. This path can be anything, so it will just map my current working directory to this particular location, right, and run this image, right. So it has already started. So if I do the docker container ps, oh, I misspelled it. Okay, so see, it's running my container, right, for this particular image. And if I do docker let me open another terminal. Okay, and what I'm doing here is, like, we have running container, right, my container. So I want to open a shell inside this container. So what is the command to open the shell inside the container is docker container execute -it, right, this. So I'm doing like just run the shell in the interactive mode and open for this inside this container and open this particular shell. So since I am using an Alpine distribution for Linux, which is a very lightweight, so I cannot use bash, it will give me an error, so I need to deploy the bash shell. So for that, like, it comes with this default shell like bin-sh, so that's why I'm using this. Like, if you have some other distribution in your container, you can use bash, you can provide bash here, right. Docker container execute this. So see guys, I'm inside the container terminal. So what we have done, like in previous command, we have map my current working directory to this particular location, right. So let's go inside this particular location. from inside container, right? And what are the content in my host machine in my current working directory? ls-al. See, I have docker file and myscript.sh. Let's see what we have inside container. ls-al. See, docker file myscript.sh. See, oh, it's inside the container. Whatever file I have in this particular directory, I can see inside container as well. So what I have done is I map this directory inside this particular user mount my container directory. So this is what bind mounting is. So suppose I create some file here, say touch test.csv inside my host machine. So I have this file. Let me go to inside container. One second, guys. Okay, so ls-al. See, I have this file test. So I'm adding the file inside my host machine, but it get mapped to a particular directory inside the container. So suppose I remove this file test.csv. So here I don't have, so I should not have. I also could not see this file here as well in my local host. See, so through this way we can say that we are pointing to the same location through two different locations, basically pointing to same file or same directory. So what operations we are doing from either host or to add particular container, we see the impact. So consider in this way, like whatever changes we are making in a real project, and we want to see the impact inside the container and the running application. We can see whatever files whatever changes inside the code we are making. We can check inside the container logs or container, like what impact it has. So that is what advantage of bind mounting is. So that is very important. And that's all about bind mounting. And one more important point, guys, I forgot to mention about named data volume. So we have seen, like earlier, when we create a data volume, it assign some temporary name, which is a long string with 10 or more than 10 characters, right? So again, moving to that PostgreSQL example. So this is the way how we create a named volume. So I will explain you one more difference, like how Docker understand that whether it's a data volume or bind mounting, because for both we use -v option. See, -v for data volume and -v here we are using for bind mounting. So for the bind mounting, basically in the left side this is the host part, and in the right side this is the container part, and internally this particular variable $pwd resolves to some file location. So for example, this file would be something like user / my directory path if I am working on Mac, and it will be like something like C and directory path. So for Windows it should be like this, right? This is the format, and it basically identify whether it's a bind mounting or it's a data volume through this /. If the left part contains the /, it understand that this is the bind mounting, and if it doesn't, it's understand that it is a data volume. We are giving some name data volume. So what here we are doing is we are starting another container for this Postgre image, and similarly that what we have done earlier. And here like we are saying like I want to map this default location to this particular named data volume. I will, so that I have the name data volume, so I could not lose the track of this data volume. So later I can understand, okay, this data volume belongs to this PostgreSQL, right? So for that we need to run this command, right? So we have docker container ps. See, we have two. So we have now another container running, which is post2, right? So post1 container, which we have already earlier created, we have already removed. So we only have a one container for Postgres, right? So let's do docker volume post2. Oops, we missed something. No, inspect. Oh, such volume post2. Sorry, we have given the name as postdb. Sorry, postdb. This is the name of the volume, right? See, it's saying that this is the volume name and it is mapped to this path inside the container, right? So now I can easily locate the volume with the name path. And if I do docker container inspect, name of my container is post2. So I think, oh, I misspelled the name. Container inspect post2, and if you go to the mount section, see, this one is the volume that we have created before, and this is the volume which we have created now. The name of the volume is this, and this is the directory that exists inside our host machine, and this one is a destination directory. So see, now the path is also get shorter, and I have the name volume created. Okay guys, so this one is related to the name volume. So we have what we have covered in today's video. Like, we have covered about how to create a named volume. So earlier, like, first we have created a container without a named volume, and then we have created a container with named volume. So what is the advantage of that? We have we can inspect that particular named volume, and we keep the track of, like, okay, this particular volume which is mapped to this particular default location, it belongs to this PostgreSQL, right? And then we have seen, like, what is bind mounting. So bind mounting is like when I am mapping particular file or directory from my host machine to particular file or directory on inside the container, so that whatever changes I am making in my local host machine, those changes will be reflected inside the container, right? And it has a direct impact on the container. So we can, for our development purpose or for the DevOps purpose, we know like whatever changes I am making, I can see and I can debug and trace the changes inside the container. Okay, so I think that's all from this video. So I hope you will find this helpful. So if you find it helpful, or like if you like this video, or even like you want some other topics to be covered, please like and comment, and also not to forget, please subscribe my channel. Okay guys, till then, keep learning. Okay, bye bye.